everyone. We are Team 4. My name is Alessandra Rojas.
My name is Denilson Fernandez.
I am Noel Charles.
I am Fatima Lizama.
I am Nahren Calenga.
And we will be covering our topic on Intel, the Chips and Science Act, and the implication of this on the semiconductor industry. So our agenda today, we're going to be going over a couple of topics. First, we're going to be talking about what is a semiconductor. Then we're going to be going over the Intel background, followed by the Chips and Science Act, and then we're going to be talking about the Intel earnings loss, as well as the implication of this on the semiconductor industry. And then we're going to be talking about a quick conclusion to wrap this all up for everybody, followed by a brief Q&A, and I would pay attention because we are having a little treat after if you answer a question correctly. So let's start off on what is a semiconductor. A semiconductor is essentially the brain of a device. It's responsible for transmitting data by a series of zeros and ones, and it is responsible for the technological innovation that we experience today. The first computer was in a size of an apartment-like room. It was very huge, massive, and through the creation of these little chip semiconductors, we now are able to hold a computer in the palm of our hands. So it has allowed our technology to become smaller, faster, more reliable, and it is pretty much the reason why we experience the many perks we have in the business world today. From toasters to rocket ships, the semiconductors are in everything that we have, even our phones and our laptops. You use a semiconductor every single day. So with that, I'm going to pass it on to my colleague Denilson for more information.
Thank you, Alessandra. I'll be going over Intel's background, and on the next slide, I'll discuss the Chips and Science Act. So what is Intel and what do they do? Intel is a multinational corporation that manufactures and designs semiconductors and CPUs for electronic devices. They're one of the few companies in America that design and manufacture the chips here in the US. And most companies like NVIDIA and AMD outsource their manufacturing to countries like Taiwan. And here we have the current CEO, Pat Gelsinger, and he was brought onto the board in 2021. And one of his goals for Intel is to bring manufacturing and technology leadership back into the US. In order to do this, Intel will need some help. And in March 20th, 2024, our President Joe Biden awarded $8.5 billion in direct funding to Intel as a part of this act, and $11 billion in additional funding. So the purpose of this act is to bring U.S. Manufacturing of chips and research and development back to the U.S. And the funding will go to research centers in Arizona, New Mexico, Ohio, and Oregon. And this will help create 30,000 jobs, more specifically 20,000 in fabrication construction and 10,000 in chip manufacturing. So will this act help Intel? And with more on that, here's Noel.
Thank you, Denilson. So today I'll be talking to you about how Intel has actually lost stuff recently, starting with the foundry business. So the foundry business is just a layman's term for semiconductor manufacturing, where in Intel they invested a lot of money within the foundry business of creating semiconductors, but unfortunately they recently reported April 1st, 2024, that they lost $7 billion. So that kind of offsets what Denilson was mentioning about the $8 billion that's being granted towards them, so they'll have to recover from that. On top of that, regarding the 2022 financials that's happening last year, well, in 2022, the foundry loss was only 5.2. So operating costs have increased with Intel, and this is not boding well for the stakeholders because the owners of stock, the institutions that have funds within Intel, are now backtracking. As you can see within the stock price of yesterday's April 16th market watch, $36. Now, I personally had Intel 2021 at $76. Now they're currently sitting at $36, and April 1st, once the earnings loss was reported, they reported at $44. So it's been an $8 drop in the stock market price. So the vision behind Intel as a stock has been seen not as a growth stock and more as a value stock. So growth stock meaning short-term gain, value stock being a long-term gain. bodes well according to CEO Pat Gillingsworth. He thinks that Intel is the perfect time to invest in because it's buying low, but it'll grow high, and it'll only go further with semiconductors improving. And with more on the outlook behind the aspects on that, yeah, Fatima.
Thank you, Noel. I'll be talking about the implication on the semiconductor industry. Intel has been weighed down by bad decisions such as failure to use the most advanced type of chip making machines, which has led them to outsource more production. The recent stock price drop has led more competition within the semiconductor industry. Intel's greatest rivals are TSMC, Samsung, and AMD. The chips made by Intel are 10 nanometers, which are used in some computers and generally use electronics such as coffee machines. The chips made by Samsung and TSMC are 5 nanometers, so they are used in data handling and AI. They are way more advanced than Intel. The US wants business to be domestic, which means they want the semiconductor industry to be in the United States, which is very important for national security reasons. In 1990, 37% of chips were made here in the US, and by 2020, only 12%. And now for my Nahren Calenga.
So, in conclusion, Intel is a company manufacturing with with the faster and the smallest secrets, and then they have a $6 billion. Like, we believe Intel is a great company with the high economic, and is a great company for electronic.
So now we're gonna have a close off with a brief Q&A session. If I can have Fatima help me, okay? So can anybody name a device with a semiconductor?
Laptop.
Great, there you go. Okay, and then what is the main purpose of the CHIPS Act? What is it supposed to do for us?
Bring manufacturing back to the US.
Perfect. Candy?
Which one you want?
All right, last question. Semiconductors are considered to be what body part of a device? What body part? What are they responsible for doing?